Hello, friends. Good to be here again with you this week. Hope your week has gone well. We're certainly in such a mess in our world these days. It's my hope that you are continuing to pray for our brothers and sisters in the Ukraine and all of the extended families and the mess that they're going through over there. It is just a tragedy. But we know that God hears our prayers, responds to our call. And so our prayer is that He would sustain people who are struggling right now. It's the same prayer that we give regularly. Glad that you are here. Let's get started in our continuing study of the 23rd Psalm. Let me give you some words maybe that are brand new to you. Certainly these first couple of them you've heard before. Ever heard of this? Claustrophobia. That's a fear of being confined into a smaller space. And that it's a real debilitating fear that some people have. It's the real deal. Here's another one. Maybe if you watch movies, you know this one. What about this one? Arachnophobia. It's fear of spiders. I've been around people who actually have this fear, and it is something that just brings them to paralysis almost. The fear that they have of the spider. Here's another one. I bet you haven't ever really heard of this one. This one is a demophobia. Demophobia. I can tell you, I do not have this fear. This is the fear of crowds. Fear of crowds. I would say that people who have this fear probably avoid places like Ranger Games and Disneyland and some other places like that. Certainly couldn't get on a plane. It's kind of a cousin in the fear category to claustrophobia, but this one's real specific to crowds. See if I can say this one right. I'll give you a chance to see if you can say it. Arachabutyrophobia. Man, that is a mouthful. Speaking of mouthful, that's kind of what it means. This is the fear of having peanut butter stuck to the roof of your mouth. Now, I don't know of anybody that likes that, but I had no idea that was a true phobia that needs to be treated. People have that. Man. These last two are two of my absolute favorites. Pelidophobia. Pelidophobia. It even sounds kind of creepy. This is the fear of bald people. Bet you did not know that was a real thing. Fear of bald people. It kind of creeps me out to think that I'm walking along at a baseball game or at the market or someplace, and people are like running from me because my bald head is striking fear into them. Again, it's a real thing. Seems kind of crazy, but it's a real thing. And then my absolute favorite phobia of all. Just didn't know this. I did a little research on it. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I'm pretty sure that none of you have this. Pretty sure none of you have this. Hemelophobia. Hemelophobia. The beginning part of this word comes from homily or homiletics, and this is the fear of sermons. Are you kidding me? A fear of sermons seems like kind of a joke to me. But maybe this is the thing that's keeping people away from church. Who knows? I don't know if you have any of these. But we all struggle with fears, no doubt about that. Fear of the unknown, fear of what I cannot see, what I don't know, fear of rejection or fear of pain, of failure, of sadness, of ultimately I think that almost all fears are tied back to a fear of death and beyond. At least most psychologists would say that. Our current world situation is filled with fear. Maybe not for you, but certainly for others. It is so hard for me to get up every morning and go to my news feeds to see what has happened in the past 12 hours since I've gone to bed. And the pictures of panic-stricken children cowering in their parents' arms as bombs explode all around them. It's almost too much to handle. Refugees fleeing danger in their homelands that just 5 days ago provided safety and security and warmth and familiarity. Life was so normal for people just 5 or 6 days ago. And now they are running for their lives. And even the one that is just kind of the craziest to me to think about, that there are young soldiers barely out of their teenage years fighting a war that they are ill-equipped for. I can't even imagine the fear that is grabbed a hold of them. It's going on right now. Right now. Here's where we're at in our study of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And then we come to the next line in the 23rd Psalm, what we'll look at here for the next few minutes. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we're beginning to see a shift in the psalm as we've been studying it. See, the first three verses, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and so forth. Those are statements that David made about God as the shepherd. And now we come to the second half of this psalm, and his vocabulary shifts. His sentences change from writing about God to writing directly to God. It becomes intensely personal. There's a sense of presence in his writing. And he writes about valleys, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You know, valleys are this is interesting, and I don't want you to miss this. Valleys are what you go through on your way to getting to higher ground. Valleys are what you go through to be able to get up to a safe spot. Valleys are what you go through. If you're a sheep, It's what you go through to get home. Don't miss this. It is such a small thing, but it is so profound. I know we love to read this psalm at funerals. I cannot even begin to recount the hundreds of times I have done this throughout my life. It is an absolute staple at graveside services to read the 23rd Psalm. But the valley of the shadow of death is not about coming to the end of one's life. That's not what David is writing about. You see, the valley are all the days in between birth and death. It's all the in-between time. The valleys are the days of hardship, filled with the desire to want more, to want change, to want help, to want it to be different than what it is, to want healing. That's the valley. The valley are all the days of not knowing what to do next. The valley it's the days when anxiety has entered our heart or entered our home, and it's taken us by the throat and is squeezing life out of us. The valley that David writes about, it's the days of loss, filled with pain, filled with loneliness. Again, don't miss this. The valley is not where I go to get buried. I walk through the valley. I don't stop there. We don't die there. The valley is not the destination. It is the path that we walk through. The shadow of death that is always present, it's the never-ending awareness that the possibility of bad things is always right around the corner. You know, we have a saying here in Texas, if you don't like the weather today, just wait until tomorrow. Well, that's sort of a way that we look at life also, is that it could always be worse because we know it does get worse. But I will fear no evil, for you are with me. From dark valleys comes this question. Do we trust the shepherd, or do we fear the moment? Fear can grip our hearts and cause us to take off running aimlessly, just like sheep do. Listen, let the wisdom of the shepherd David teach us. Fear comes from a life of want. We become fearful because we are afraid of not getting what we want. No matter what we are afraid of, rejection, pain, failure, separation, death, that fear of all of those things comes from want. David said he feared no evil. To acknowledge the Lord as my shepherd drives fear away, allowing us to live fearlessly. It allows us to live fearlessly in the I shall not want part of this psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Because I no longer fear, because I trust my shepherd's voice. Walking through the valley of the shadow of death is not a time for fear. but a time for courage. But not courage to fight, but courage to trust the shepherd and to keep on walking. As we close today, I want us to remember that the bread that we eat and the juice that we drink is the communion of solidarity of all those who are walking through the valley of the shadow of death right in this moment. Right in this moment. So may these promises that I'm going to read right now from the prophet Isaiah, may these promises be as true for those who listen to the voice of the shepherd today as they were for those who followed his leading thousands of years ago. Isaiah wrote in chapter 41 in verse 10, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Till next time. See you.
Oh, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I've known we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. 'Cause you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. 'Cause you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, this love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love. It's who you are. It's who